Rogers and Griffith wrote that the group's letter from earlier in the summer was also effective in reflecting the CCP's strategy to cut off criticism of China's government and to promote the CCP's preferred policy interests, as well as reflecting the CCP's strategy to cut off criticism of China's government. Trump claims to understand what would happen if he were to face DeSantis in the presidential primary in 2024. Trump will go to Iowa next weekend, a trip that is sure to arouse further talk about a possible presidential bid in 2024. Former President Trump claims in a new interview that if he Massachusetts with a bachelor's degree in engineering and management. He then went on to serve in the United States Army and work for IBM. He worked in corporate management for the Lackland Steel Company, which is headquartered in St. Louis. He was elected to the Missouri House of Representatives in 1988 and served there for a total of 10 years. He was first elected to Missouri's 2nd Congressional District in 2000, and he has been re-elected to the position 5 times. Aside from that, he was a board member of the anti-abortion organization Missouri Right to Life. Akin had 2 strong opponents in the 2012 U.S. Senate primary, former state treasurer Sarah Steelman and businessman John Brunner, both of whom were also Democrats. Many Democrats believed that with Akin as the Republican candidate, McCaskill would have the greatest chance of winning re-election. During her campaign, she ran television commercials in which she said Akin was too conservative, Brunner was not a dependable conservative, and Steelman represented more of the same. Republicans saw the advertisements as McCaskill's effort to assist Akin in winning the Republican primary. It was revealed in McCaskill's autobiography, which was published in 2015, that she attempted to help Akin's campaign by encouraging it to resume airing a television ad that featured an endorsement from former conservative Republican presidential candidate and former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee through back channels. McCaskill's maneuvers were successful. Akin won the Republican primary with just 36% of the vote in a field of 8 candidates. Progressive organizations must respond to questions from House Republicans about potential connections to the Chinese Communist Party. Earthworks and other progressive organizations are accused of attempting to blame and undermine the United States in order to benefit China in a letter. A letter from Representatives Kathy McMorris Rogers, R. Washington, and Morgan Griffith, R. Virginia, to 4 major far-left climate organizations, asking about potential connections to the Chinese Communist Party, has been sent to the media exclusively by the Washington Free Beacon, CCP. Among the organizations that will get a copy of the letter are the Sunrise Movement, the Union of Concerned Scientists, Movian, and Earthworks, to name a few. After Earthworks and other progressive organizations called on the Biden-Harris administration and Congress to abandon an antagonistic posture toward China in favor of a more cooperative relationship, Rogers, who serves as the Republican leader of the Energy and Commerce Committee, and Griffith, who serves as the Republican leader of the Oversight and Investigations Committee, expressed concern that foreign interests may be influencing the group's advocacy activities directed toward Congress. In the aftermath of the infrastructure bill's delay, McConnell accuses Dem leaders of allowing the radical left to run Capitol Hill. Rogers and Griffith wrote that Earthworks appears to be requesting that the United States government ignore not only China's crackdown on Hong Kong and its atrocious human rights abuses, including its continued genocide of Uyghur Muslims, but also the clear threat China poses to America's economic and national security. You specifically stated that anti-China rhetoric does nothing to support the well-being of everyday people in China, as well as that you blame the United States for climate emissions, while ignoring China's human rights abuses and dominant contribution to global greenhouse gas emissions, the representatives wrote, adding that the letter from the progressive groups reads more like CCP propaganda designed to blame and weaken the United States in order to benefit China's national and economic security. Rogers and Griffith wrote that the group's letter from earlier in this summer was also effective in reflecting the CCP's strategy to cut off criticism of China's government and to promote the CCP's preferred policy interests, as well as reflecting the CCP's strategy to cut off criticism of China's government. Trump claims to understand what would happen if he were to face DeSantis in the presidential primary in 2024. Trump will go to Iowa next weekend, a trip that is sure to arouse further talk about a possible presidential bid in 2024. Former President Trump claims in a new interview that if he attacks a child under the age of 14 from ever being eligible for parole, is explored in depth in this special by Compagno, who also appears in the episode. The legislation was enacted in New Jersey, Jones' home state, in 1997, after her mother fought tirelessly to ensure that her daughter's murderer would never be allowed to walk out of jail again. This October, watch what to watch on Fox Nation as the Halloween season begins. Kari Leitner, 13, was murdered on this day by a drunk motorist who had previously been convicted of a DUI. Her mother Candy campaigned for increased sentencing standards and a change in the national drinking age 31 years ago, eventually resulting in the formation of the non-profit MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Kari had allegedly been struck from behind and flung 125 feet before being abandoned on the side of the road to die. After being released on bail from another alcohol-induced hit-and-run, the drunk driver who caused the accident had 3 previous drunk driving convictions in the span of 4 years, according to police. Kari's legacy is alive and well today, due to her mother, and can be found in every single state, with each of the 50 states having at least one MAD office. The offices provide victim assistance as well as many resources pertaining to alcohol safety. According to MAD, the number of people who drink and drive has decreased by half since the organization's inception. While no one in America expects Casey Anthony, who was accused with, but eventually convicted of the murder of her 3-year-old daughter, Kaylee, to run for president on behalf of her daughter's legacy, others have done so in the wake of her daughter's death. Kaylee Anthony, 2 years old, had been gone for 31 days before the authorities were informed. Her corpse was discovered 5 months after she went missing. Despite widespread speculation, Anthony was found not guilty of first-degree murder in what has been called the social media trial of the century. What occurred is explained in detail in the special by Emily Compagno, as well as how new laws might avoid such catastrophes in the future. It was the goal of lawmakers to draft new laws that would compel parents and guardians to report missing children in a more timely manner. They succeeded. Compagno made this observation. During the recording of the program, Compagno spoke with former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who had passed a Kaylee Anthony-inspired bill into law in 2012. According to Kaylee's law, neglecting to notify the loss of a child within 24 hours is a crime in the state of New Jersey. According to Christie, it was less the lobbying and more the force of Kaylee's tale and the sorrow of her death that propelled this issue to the forefront of lawmakers' minds and resulted in legislation of this kind being placed on his desk. A Fox News program commemorates the network's 25th anniversary. Interviews, behind-the-scenes video, and recollections from the network's stars will be included in the 1-hour special to commemorate the network's historic debut. Fox News will commemorate its 25th year in the industry, which started on October 7, 1996, with a Sunday night special titled Fox News Channel, 25 Years. The event will be broadcast on Fox News Channel. During the program, viewers will be taken back to the early days of Fox News, when there were screeches, technical problems, and a lot of rushing to get the news out with a small crew. It will take viewers on a trip from the beginning of Fox News to its current position as the nation's leading cable news network. Interviews, behind-the-scenes video, and recollections from the network's stars will be included in the 1-hour special to commemorate the network's historic debut. Special coverage of the network's 25th anniversary will begin with a special edition of the Fox News Channel entitled Fox News Channel, 25 Years. During the program, Fox News anchors and correspondents shared their tales of how they came to work for the network and what it was like during the network's early days. I was recruited as a representative for the Atlanta bureau. However, there was no bureau in Atlanta. It all began in my flat with a fax machine and a mobile phone, and it has grown from there. Brett Baer, the host of Special Report, stated this. Lauren Green, who was the first on-air personality recruited by Fox News, said that she rehearsed behind a plywood desk before the facilities were ready for her. Sean Hannity, a primetime television host, said that his first few programs were atrocious, humiliating and embarrassing. Tucker Carlson, a Fox News anchor, said that he happened to be there on the first day of the network's existence. Bob Dole, the Republican presidential candidate in 1996, was making an appearance on the channel when he was working as a reporter for the Bob Dole presidential campaign. I was watching him give an interview on this thing called Fox News when I realized what was going on. I remember thinking to myself, that's not going to work, and I was right. Carlson suddenly bursts out laughing and proclaims, one of the many things I've gotten wrong in my career. Christians in Nigeria are living under a huge cloud of fear as a result of the violence. Masara Kim Usman, a Nigerian journalist, claims that Boko Haram has targeted him and that he is overqualified to be murdered at the age of 35 because of his profession. In Nigeria, Christians have been subjected to continuous fear at the hands of the Islamic terror organization Boko Haram, a danger that was emphasized in the Fox Nation television show Lara Logan Has No Agenda. Logan spoke with Nigerian journalist Masara Kim Usman, who has extensively covered the communities that have been devastated by Boko Haram, on the battle perpetrated against Christians. When he said, the first thing you will be faced with as you drive into any of these villages is a huge cloud of fear. It's terrible, really, to see the looks of desperation on these people's faces. The leader of Boko Haram, Kim Usman, said that the terrorist organization would not cease its terror until there was not a single Christian left in Nigeria. Taliban spokesman interview with Lara Logan refuses to explicitly denounce Al-Qaeda currently. He told Logan, there are more than 75 Christian communities that have been dismissed and taken over by the government. There are also more than 30 additional villages that are off limits to visitors. It is no longer possible for Christians to visit there. Anyone who tries to get past them is either dead or severely injured. Kim Usman